Hey everybody, Jason Russell, branch manager, Caliber Home Loans. Hope you are having a terrific morning. All we're hearing right now on the news is about inflation, inflation, inflation. And since it's been a while since any of us took Econ 101, I wanted to spend a few minutes just to explain what it is, how it works, and why it impacts you and why it matters. So we all know the idea of supply and demand, right? If everyone wants the new iPhone and there are fewer iPhones to be had, then the iPhone is going to be more expensive than a generic off-brand phone that is readily available. The lower the supply of something, the more the price of that something will increase. And the more the supply of something, the less it will cost. Inflation is the increase of the prices of goods and services over a period of time, which in tandem decreases the value of the dollar and the purchasing power of that dollar. So, inflation is the supply and demand of not just iPhones, but the measure of change in prices from a collection of common goods. In short, it's the price increase of the economy as a whole. So, how do we measure it? Well, there's a report called the CPI report, and it looks at a basket of goods and services. Things like eggs, milk, housing, groceries, cars, things that pretty much impact everyone. And that report today came out and said the cost of those items is going up by 7.5%. That's the highest number since 1982. So, for example, in 1985, if you wanted to buy a pair of Jordan 1s, those Jordan 1s cost you $65 in 1985. Today, if you want to buy the same pair of Jordan 1s, those now cost $175, which means the purchasing power and the value of your dollar have gone down since 1985. Now, there are three types of inflation that we face. The first of which is called cost push inflation. So this is when the cost of doing business rises, and those costs are then passed on to customers. So for example, if you wanted to build a fence in your front yard, but the price of lumber has gone up, the fence company is going to pass that higher cost of lumber on to you, making it more expensive to build that fence. Think of all the things that were stuck on container ships in the last year, right? Those things eventually uh, push the price of items up. The second type of inflation is known as demand inflation. So this is when more people are trying to buy the same limited amount of goods. So think about the great toilet paper wars of 2020, right? It didn't cost any more to make toilet paper at that time, but the sudden demand for toilet paper, when a bunch of you panicked and thought, I better buy 10 years worth of toilet paper right now, it made toilet paper more expensive for everybody else because you couldn't find it, right? Because there wasn't enough toilet paper to go around. You know who you are. We haven't forgotten you. Okay. The third thing, money printing. Okay. This is when the government, if you remember back when we were going through COVID, I guess we're still going through COVID, but when they sent out those stimulus checks, right? They sent out these stimulus checks in order to keep the economy moving along while those COVID restrictions were in place. Sounds like a good idea, because otherwise, without it, it would have slowed the economy down with fewer customers that were out shopping for goods and services. Well, it does come with a longer term downside. And that longer term downside is now everyone has more money, right? And now everyone wants to go and try and buy things, but there are not things to be had because they're stuck on container ships, right? Or you're trying to buy toilet paper. So when this happens, it reduces the value of the dollar that you got from the government with your stimulus money, which pushes prices up. Now, why does this matter to you? Well, it depends on who you are. For families with children who buy a bunch of groceries on a weekly basis, this makes your life more difficult when you go to the grocery store and your bill is higher than normal or perhaps higher than you were budgeting for, right? That makes it tough. If you're young and single and all you do is do DoorDash every day, maybe you don't care about groceries, but maybe you care about the price of rent, the price of housing. Maybe you were looking to buy a home. Those things are going up fast, right? Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle where you're just wondering, where should I invest my money so to avoid my money just sitting in the bank and being worth less, right? Should I do stocks, bonds, crypto? Regardless of who you are, if inflation is running too hot as it is now, it's negatively affecting you. So that's just a quick primer on what inflation is and why it matters to you. Hopefully you found this helpful, and we'll arm you with some information next time you watch the news. Thanks.